And it doesn't, yeah, it does run true. That's straight, we're still straight on, see?
Well, let me stand on the other pile.
Okay.
You stand here.
Well, you don't have a little dot that marks where you're at.
Did anyone else hear that thud?
I heard something.
Yeah, something. There was a thud.
How much do I need?
Yeah, this.
As much as I can try to get it down in the bottom again.
You see your symbol from here?
No, that's what I'm trying to look for too while I'm down. I think it was on the underside of the boulder. I think it was on the coming back up, and I got it kind of coming in. I don't think you can see it from any angle but when you're in there. So hey.
Untangling your mess.
Okay. Yeah. Through here. Do a little shot there.
And then am I handing the light to you?
Okay, I'm hoping I'm getting this footage. I can see it's lit up. Huh. Damn it. I'm hoping. Okay, maybe that'll work. Let's see, there it is. I got it. Okay. Bring this back.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it looks crazy as all shit. Okay, hold on. Alright, let me turn this off. So, I think what we're going to have to do is I'm going to have to get the figure 8 and stuff out. And we're going to have to work, and I'm going to have to belay off of this to that first ledge. And have to get a look up under these to see if that's where those symbols were. And you can climb from there, but then I'll be able to check the stability there.
Hit your foot on that rock, that big round one.
This one right here?
Yeah.
It's solid because I stood on it.
That fucker looks like it's
not going.
Yeah.
I stand on it for the purpose. But no, nothing's cracked. Everything looks solid in the rock. Now we'll see what happens after this next raid. The one I'd actually be worried about is that big one over there.
Yep.
Because it's
anything that has more than half hanging out is ready to go.
Well, we don't know how big it is.
That fucking thing right there.
It's pinned by this stuff. We don't know what's underneath this one here. That's pinning
I think that one's ready to go.
Yeah, that's the one that's going to go, and it's going to plug the tunnel when it happens. By the way, no one decided to tie me off, I take it.
If I fucking hit you...
So if I went, I was just going, that was nice. There's no reason to have me clipped in. And by the way, just so you know, just by not holding the rope, the other better part is I still had the truck keys.
What was it tied to?
That's what I just mentioned. It wasn't tied to anything. I'm hanging out and doing all this stuff. Yeah, I'm lucky I didn't decide to fucking... yeah, whatever. Okay. And there's no tree here to belay off of. This tree is not happy.
Yeah, no, don't do that.
And I don't think either of those, yeah. So there's nothing to belay, so it's I'm gonna need someone solid, big.
It's this main beam.
I probably will belay off
And
this.
it's reinforced.
This is reinforced. I will probably go off of this and then have it run over this and then pulley down to this, and I'll have to use the descender off of this. And then I'll hit that ledge, and then once I hit this ledge and we do the photographs and I look at the stability, then if you fall in, I'm going to like cry so bad because that means I got to go down today. But then I'll work, see if I can work my way down into the other stuff.
This one right here, there's a little bit of dirt underneath that's holding it.
Well, it's a better reason to belay, because it's better to belay on this side where it looks secure than it is on this side where everybody's been standing here on these for so long they keep wearing it off.
That's the most dangerous one right there.
See the caliche
that
here? How they keep
pretty good.
See the caliche here where they keep wearing it off by standing on the boulders and working on them? Yeah, even the one that's holding this post, this brace, they keep wearing everything off. So by going in here and kicking stuff free and getting rid of stuff, they're eroding it with each rain.
If you get to here,
yeah,
you can step down to that.
That's what I'm saying.
Then there's another one.
Yeah.
Then there's another one. So they're like steps going down.
But this is shady right here. You see this
oh yeah,
here?
that's right over your head.
There's 5 or 6, but I'm saying down on the ledge. There's 5 or 6 rocks right here that are just all loose. You can see the debris and dirt that's on them. Things have been falling on.
You can see it's cracked along here.
So the best descent is probably going right over this way, hit that, and then get off of it as quick as possible. Why are you doing that?
I'm just checking.
Yeah, the next rain we'll be able to tell. We'll be able to have photographs and look at the debris.
But that valve, it's not going to plug the hole, but it's going to make it very difficult to get around it.
It's only going to be a matter of time before it's plugged.
Yeah, there's not much holding there.
The more that people come out here and jack around and aren't taking any precautions.
Yeah, there's a little bit.
Yeah, they're going to
shit underneath, hard pack underneath, and that thing's going to fucking go.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to get myself up out of here.
Frank.
We've got the original opening down over here. We have the pit right here that runs right through here. How did they know to pop the hole there? Because we're not seeing any place else they dug. There's no other digging.
Hit it right on.
They hit it right on and knew it still went further. And they didn't damage anything along this line. Why wouldn't you, if you knew something? Yeah, they just pure got lucky because there's no sign of that they dug anywhere else. They dug right behind that area.
Yeah, because the tunnel goes right through here.
Yeah, it goes right through here. Ends up just back over there where that rock stands, that pointed rock stands up. So, again, it's just, to me, how lucky can you get? And Trevor, you do notice of the story about, we were told, oh, it's full of the choya. There are some choyas out there. There's no choyas anywhere nearby where we're at.
No.
It's very strange. Outside of those couple little palo verdes that have grown up in that area, there is nothing. I mean, there's that one cactus, and there's absolutely nothing else here.
No more off to the side of the pit than, and they're really far away.
What?
Most of the choyas and cactus in general are actually
Yeah, it's like
nowhere near the pit.
this area.
Mostly just to the side, to the one side.
That's what I told
back.
you. This area has less vegetation running this line. There's nothing
Yeah,
old growth.
over
There's
the
no
pit.
old cactus. There's no old cactus right through here.
It's weird because over the pit there's nothing. Like no, over the tunnel, I mean.
Yeah.
Like where this tunnel is supposed to be, there's no cacti at all. It's like to the right and left.
Yeah, it's just kind of odd and weird.
Yeah, you see it
And,
scattered.
it makes you wonder if anybody had the story and knew that the tunnel went that far, because we still, what are we doing? We're doing probably, well, general area of Frank is about where the spiral would be, the corkscrew staircase. Now, going that far, wouldn't it be easier to come from the other side if you had an awareness?
Yeah.
Because you could dig from right there, pop, hit it, or dig down to it. And right now, where I'm trying to orient myself with everything here, I'm a little off to the side, but yeah, I'm right on line. I'm right above the tunnel. And the rocks that are up here are nothing like what we found in the tunnel. The rocks are almost like they had big rocks building like framework around it. I don't know. The whole thing's just weird. I think anyone that comes out here is always just kind of greedy, like, oh, I'm going to find treasure or something major. What?
Right there.
Yeah, someone left a plastic water bottle. You could have blown from the yahoos over there.
Maybe.
There's very little modern trash.
Yeah, it's mostly old rusty
There's a couple
cans.
water bottles. Oh, the rusty cans are older. They probably go back to Andy Sinbad's day.
Yeah, that's what I was
You're not
mentioning.
filming, are you?
I am.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fine, too. We'll just cut it a little bit there, edit it. But, yeah, and this is probably... Some of the trash goes back to the time of Andy Sinbad and the guys back in the 60s and 70s and the early 80s. And then you see these guys that came through more recently. I mean, a plastic water bottle like that, that's this more recent group. We haven't seen any hikers. You don't see anybody else out here. So the people that have an awareness of the site have come out to look at it and mess with it. And I don't know who decided to mess with the ladder and mess with some of it, because all they're going to do is start creating more instability of something that was very solid. And then that instability is going to cause more debris and more rock to fall through, which is what's starting to happen. And then nobody's going to know anything. We're going to rely on some old photographs that nobody's popping up with. It's just kind of I still find it completely, the fact it's elusive that there's no fire pits. Because I know people. And I'm one of those people that will sleep on the ground and sleep without a fire. Well, what's the thing you always ask when it gets dark? We're going to make a fire, right? Everybody wants that fire. They want that security. Homo sapiens is definitely afraid of the dark. It's kind of just an odd place, ain't it, Frank?
It is a little powder.
What?
Jeez.
Yeah, I think that's in line. That's the line that shows you where the tunnel goes. So I would think...
This might be the spot where the staircase is.
I don't think it's far enough, though.
I don't know.
If that's all the further it is, we need to drop in there, because this is, what, 10, 20... That's 60, 80 feet.
This is the only thing like this anywhere around here. Somebody marked the spot.
It's also weirdly empty of all the trees and everything.
Oh, no big boulders,
Bushes,
really.
nothing.
There's a boulder. Now, if you look behind you, Frank, there's that one reddish boulder that's straight in line with all this. They did drop this stuff just to mark kind of where the tunnel goes. I'm just surprised.
Yeah, it's a direct
Someone
line.
didn't look at that.
Working out toward that choya.
Yeah. Well, no, I think it actually, it's hard to, I think the tunnel runs right here, straight here.
I think this is where it ends.
It's not according to what the measurements are. All the measurements are about 150 to 180 feet. That would put it at about, just past that boulder that's in line with this, that next boulder. Walk over there. See, here's a hole someone dug. There's a hole. It runs in line. We want to judge the accuracy. We can see where we line up on all this. Okay. There we are. And we just turn it. There's that. And there's that. And it doesn't, yeah, it does run true. That's straight. We're still straight on, see?
Well, let me stand on the other pile.
Okay.
You stand here.
Well, you don't have a little dot that marks where you're at.
Did anyone else hear that thud?
I heard something.
Yeah, something. There was a thud.
Yeah, it was like a big thud somewhere close by, like a big boulder hit the ground.
Sounded like somewhere over here.
So Trevor and I are operating. You know, he's operating the camera, and we're sitting there, and you can. I don't know. It's not really audible, and you see our reaction. It sounded like a huge thump, like if you took something that weighed 200 pounds and just dropped it on the ground within 5-10 feet of you. You could hear it, the thud, And it was completely like caught both of us off guard. Now Frank was probably 30 yards away, 40 yards away. He never heard it. So it was close enough to us that we could hear it, and it wasn't loud enough that Frank could hear it from that distance. So as loud as it was to us and we could feel it, Frank couldn't. Frank's thought was maybe it was underground, but it didn't feel like underground. It sounded like we heard it physically around us, because we both looked, and we were looking around like someone had thrown this huge boulder through the air and it landed by us. And we looked around, but there was nothing, and you could see probably for 40, 50 yards very clearly. So we have no idea what that was and why that sound was. It was just a different, strange, unusual thing. It's probably the one time something very unusual happened up there.
The area is not stable. The superstitions, you think about it, that they're comprised of several volcano calderas. You have still rock settling. You also have the stories that you hear about Hieroglyphic Canyon. That whole area was sort of sacred to the Indians. And it could have been a warning. I was talking to somebody, I'm not going to mention his name. A friend of his was up in that spot, found a small cave, and it was full of clay pots. And he took one and he opened it up, and there was like cremation ashes in there. He was sick, badly sick, for a year. Is he going to go near that spot again? No. I have an idea where it is. Am I going to go up to that spot? No. Wayne will go and he'll climb in there and won't come out. Or he'll come out and his hair will be trimmed.
I heard. You didn't hear it? Well, you can't. You didn't hear it?
It's the little people.
It was like someone had a big rock and dumped it on the dirt, right?
Yeah.
Like thud.
It was a
Boom.
giant thud.
Yeah.
Unless it was under us.
It could be under us for all we know.
That would be freaky.
That would make sense.
That would be true. Then we should probably stop standing on it. Or collapsing the cave.
If we're collapsing something that's 40 feet below, are you filming still?
Yeah.
Okay, good. But if we're collapsing something 40 feet underneath us, then there's a big problem.
I'll see if I can blow up the audio and get that thud.
That's a straight line.
Yeah, I don't know if it curves or bends. Well, there's that rock again. Now, I found this last time. Frank said it was coincidence. But see this rock? See that rock?
Yeah,
Tell me that's coincidence. It just happened to lay there for 100 years.
it's a little strange.
I found that last time, and Frank said that didn't... Yeah, this is where that straight rock is that you said is natural. And here, Trevor. You want to see something even weirder? Why wouldn't you poke a hole in over here? Because here's the end of the mesa.
Wash.
But I don't think there's any sign that anybody did anything over here. Somebody moved this.
Oh.
That's moved.
Frank was over here. I wonder if he moved it.
Frank! Frank! Did you move a boulder?
What?
Somebody moved. This is kind of the sound you would hear if something like that dropped. Right?
Yeah, but that was too close to us. I think it was further. And I think it was more off
that's
in
the
that
kind
direction.
of thing if something's picking boulders up and dropping them.
Yeah, that's true. That looks like someone moved it, like just pushed it over.
This is where it gets the weirds me out, is that you get here is like, well, why wouldn't you dig here?
Oh yeah.
Why wouldn't you tunnel in from here? You'd be more hidden here
Yeah,
from anybody.
because you've got the hill kind of covering you too.
Someone could literally set a camp here, start coming in, start angling down to it back this way. They'd only be probably, what, 30, 40 yards away?
Yeah.
They'd have a shorter distance, and then all the debris would go down in the wash, and nobody's going to see you from anywhere around here.
No. It's Weird.
There's supposed to be ruins up over on this side, but I've never seen any sign of them. It does look kind of flat, like a trail almost going across that ridge, doesn't it?
Almost. It's definitely really, really weird.
It's a strange place.
It is.
But once you get past the section, now it's back rolling and you can't see everything, see?
Yeah.
Let's get back to about where I marked it off. I did the measurement. I measured it out, even though that's a little bit of a rough spot. But I measured it out. And this was purposely covered up, Frank. This just
weird.
didn't collapse.
I think it was blown.
Yeah, they did something to just shut it, because this didn't come down from there. This is all placed in here too, thrown back up in here. And it's had so much debris work
Look at the
into
size
it.
of that fucking rock.
Where? Yeah.
Ah.
Well, that wasn't in here. That was probably there.
So, using aerial photography and satellite imagery, I knew kind of where the adit was. We also can tell basically from the directionally the tunnel's going to run about where it was going to come out. I went right to that point and I could see, and it fit a lot of descriptions of it. It was just a nice flat area, landing area. And you could see that it had been an area somebody had been working in. You can see where that tunnel opening might have been, probably was. It was collapsed, and it definitely was purposely kind of collapsed and filled in a bit. The story is, once they found it, it was open, but it was collapsed in a number of areas, and as they tried to clear it, it just kept having problems as they went back in it. But it's also additionally interesting is that if that was the area they initially went in to dig out, you would find more tailings, more types of different tailings and types of rock and mineralization laying all over the place. It isn't. It looks like just kind of the standard stuff of when they first started pulling stuff out of there. So it's a very, very interesting spot. We didn't find anything relevant there either, which is another odd thing. People are just creatures of habit of leaving crap everywhere. And the fact that the area was bare of anything, and we looked around, you could see some old game trails that could have been trails from someone in the past through the area. It just kind of was this very lonely area that you could tell had seen a lot of activity at various times, but it had to be very, very old that it had lasted this long. But the missing tailings and dumps of all the tonnage and yards of material that have been removed is probably the most puzzling, because just the manpower to take it all down the hill, get it out where it would wash out down the washes down below, is just mind-blowing. So probably something we'll just never quite understand.
Rocks around you.
But you can tell, if you look, you can see that the space in the rocks is still there, where they took and put the rocks up to block it up. And then debris washed in and kind of packed it in better. But you can tell all this, some of it's fallen down, but this was all put here.
Yeah.
And you'd have to clear this and then start bringing these pieces out and letting some of this fall to get in. And obviously the way it is, it's sitting like this. Well, it looks like somebody, a couple times, looks like they tried to do something. Yeah, but it's just odd that it didn't collapse like this, you know, naturally. Was this, who did, oh, Frank? You just spit some tobacco here?
Yeah.
Okay. This is all bigger debris and rubble and
Yeah.
stuff, but there's no small
We
stuff.
took that long hike up to the Staircase Mine. Now, I know the Staircase Mine's been described before, but it's it's like a horizontal tunnel that went all the way out, and it goes in about maybe 80 feet, and then there's a staircase carved in solid granite going down about 150 feet. The original entrance to that mine had collapsed, or it was blown up. So just up over the rise of the hill, there was a new entrance dug, and it's funnel shaped. It goes down 30, 35 feet.
It's weird.
The whole thing is just weird. The fact that we don't find any sign of anything is weird. You know, you'd expect to find some debris here, something of some sort, him to pick up something on the metal. Other than that spike, there's nothing. But this, you have to picture this, that this was all cleared here. So all this was cleared, and the tunnel went back in here. So they probably blew it shut and then let everything come falling down on top of it. And that's why you got this loose fill here.
Like all this shit.
And this is with the debris they probably were digging out of it to start clearing it initially.
One piece of quartz.
Yeah, there's no quartz. You
There's
don't
one piece.
Yeah, you don't
Where'd
find
that
any
come from?
quartz. You don't see anything iron oxide. You're not seeing mica. You're not seeing
That look like
pyrite.
somebody's trying to make an arrowhead, maybe?
Could be. Well, we found the pottery up there. We found some pieces of pot. I don't know. It's kind of bent though. That was a bad engine.
That was just laying right there.
Um,
Not another piece anywhere in this area.
Was that cracked because of the rock? Look how that cracked. See that? It's holding that boulder. See that? What's holding this boulder is that rock, and it cracked because of the weight of this sitting on it.
Yeah. Give it time.
Oh.
We're down there with the other one.
Yeah, it'll eventually give. But this didn't come out. You're looking at the debris that they threw aside when they cleared it out. And then once they were done or whatever they were doing here, or they decided to have to intercept it elsewhere, then they blew it shut and then let it pack itself down. But this is when they were initially clearing it. So I'm sure all this was open and flat.
I think this is the original entrance.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And I think that's how the Mormons got in there. When somebody come along later, they saw that was blown, so they went up over the hill and dug down.
That's saying that the story we're told that we find no documentation is true from the 1920s. It could have been someone found this and then went out and then tried to intercept the tunnel, and they just got lucky, and that this was blown shut 500 years ago for all we know. We don't know when this got blown shut. That's the problem. We need a piece of documentation of some names, some people at a certain time. If they know a group of men found this thing and they found this tunnel that was partially collapsed and decided to intercept that, there has to be a name. If you don't have a name, you don't have a timeline. And just saying sometime in the 1920s, well, it fits a bit of a narrative that everybody talks about, but we also hear people saying the Mayan calendar stone came from over here by the spiral staircase, right? We've heard that story. But we also know the guy that found it says he brought it out of the Santan Mountains, and he was working with the Pimas and the Salt River Indians who showed it where it was, and they gifted it to him.
Why would the Pimas be over there?
Because that's where they live. They've always lived over there. Salt River and Sacaton community and the Pimas live over there. They've lived there forever. So they were back way back when. So if his story's correct and his journals are accurate, Hieroglyphic Canyon that he's speaking of could be in Santan Mountains. If that's true, that means everybody has a story about that seat and all this stuff over here.
This is related to something else.
That's what I'm saying. We don't know still. We don't have anything definitive to tie to this. This could be anything. It could be, well, let's just throw it out. It could be the Masons. It could be Salvador's alien technology, the Templars. It could be the Spanish conquistadors or something like that. It could be the Peraltas for all we know. We have no idea who possibly could have dug this or cleaned it out or had anything to do with it. That's kind of like the thing that kind of throws you off, is you don't really have anything definitive to say who was it that initially did this. And even if we say it goes back to the Mayans and Aztecs, we don't have anything definitive to say who was it that started the process of clearing this. It might have been the 50s or 60s with Andy Sinbad when they finally rediscovered all this, for all we know. It would be interesting to remove a bunch of this and see how collapsed it is.
All right, here's a problem.
There's a lot of problems with this spot.
You got the length of the tunnel.
Yeah, that's a problem.
There's definitely not enough tailings here.
No, the tailings are missing.
So
They had
the
to haul it
tunnel-
all out.
was the tunnel and the staircase dug from the inside out.
But where do you put everything then? How many people does it take to transfer that all through that system and get it out the other side? Where is the other end? That's the problems we run into is you can say there's no way 5 or 6 guys did all this. Right? So how many hundreds of people could have dug this, and what would it take in the manpower to remove all the tailings and all the
And who the
everything?
fuck would dig that tunnel
And know that staircase was there?
for what?
Or build the staircase. And at that point, then you have that much more debris came out of there because you supposedly have a 4x4 tunnel. 4x4 tunnel that goes 400 feet.
Yeah, this is just from the entrance.
Yeah, this is nothing.
This is hardly anything.
Yes, there's no tailings dump. Even there, that you got what came out of the pit.
And nowhere in this area is there one.
But up there, all you have is what came out of the pit. That's it. The pile that's there by the pit is just what came out of the pit. It hasn't. Nothing up here makes any sense. And there's no camp. There's nothing we see that says, oh, you know, they might have had a base camp here or something there for any of the extensive workings. There's nothing. There's nothing anywhere. Nobody chiseled anything on a rock. Nobody lost their hat. We have something that looks like a grave site that we don't know what was buried in there that's marked. We have an old trail. Yeah, somebody throw it. Give us something. They didn't carve a cactus. All the treasure hunter signs that they always talk about, all those guys go on about. None of it's here.
The only thing above the mine's that one rock.
Yeah, but there's nothing to indicate, present it.
Okay, so you're going to dig the tunnel and carve that staircase
And have how many 50 guys running in and out of this little
through
tunnel?
solid rock.
Yeah.
Why?
And then whoever's in there, who did the seals? Was it the people that took the stuff out, or was it the original people that blocked it in that wanted it to collapse after they put whatever was in there? What was the whole rhyme, reason, purpose? We don't even know the purpose, but we don't understand how they made it, and we don't understand how they filled it back in.
Why here? Why not down there? You got the whole way up this hill.
Why didn't you just dig from the other side?
But why?
Why don't you just
Why
dig?
up here on top of this hill? Why not go up there and dig a fucking hole through that mountainside?
One of the stories is, great flood came, and the ant people came out, and they grabbed the Pimas and stuff, and they grabbed them and they took them underground for the great flood. And all the people that didn't pay attention and go with the ant people went up on the ridge. And that's the hoodoos you see in the background. Supposedly they were frozen into stone for not listening.
Yeah.
And then the ant people brought them back up, and that's part of the creation stories and part of those stories that the Pima, the Hopi, and all of them talk about. Weird thing is we have something that physically resembles the story, which is odd in and of itself. But yeah, who does all this and doesn't carve a rock? There's always some idiot that does something. I don't know.
So after reviewing all the footage from both trips, the first trip we had a marking I had on a stone, a triangular shaped marking I found interesting. I've not been able to relocate it. I'm hoping eventually we will relocate that. Secondly, just looking down in there is one of the things I'm noticing. You know, I will see a marking on a boulder, we'll blow it up, we'll look at it, and it turns out to be nothing. And there's always that thing after you come back from the trip, there's about 90% of what you think you missed. But it's been intriguing because there's nothing that we would say is saying, well, this isn't true, that isn't true, this isn't true. Now, there's certain aspects of people's personal stories, and we have about a dozen personal stories that we will talk through, that they don't seem to match up to what we're seeing down there. And we'll continue that. And it's not necessarily calling someone a liar. I'm always going to stick to the fact that Bob Shue says it's a hallucination. Everybody that goes there sees something different. I want to understand the psychology of why this is happening there and why the site has such a kind of odd thing. There are people from the academic situation that don't want us to publicly speak on who they are and what they specifically did at the site. There are people that were active at the site that don't want to be named, don't mind some of the stories being exchanged. There are other people freely are approaching me and say, will say, hey, let me let you know this. I'd love to go. And we've tried to keep those people from being out there with us because we don't want to taint what we're doing. We want to do it with the information they're giving us and kind of look at it kind of like, okay, what are they trying to tell us if that's not there? Because I love that thing you get there and then that person, it just turns to like a negative situation because what do you think I'm lying? This is okay, but it's not physically here and there's no physical association with this. So I figure it's so much easier for us to kind of interview, talk to people than go out and then look at it and try to compare it. And I'm very happy that most of it seems to be real, true. Their experiences, I think, are 100% true to them. And but yeah, the physical evidence with the chisel, the pyramid stone, and the triangular marking on the one stone, which is kind of mysterious to me. Those sort of things kind of like make me think for a moment. The thump that Trevor and I heard, I still am puzzled about it because it did sound like someone took probably a 40-50 pound boulder and dropped it within 15-20 feet of it. And I wasn't really thinking of it when he heard it, and he mentioned it first, and I realized it came from right behind us, and Frank was too far away probably to hear it. But it was weird. We didn't feel it in the ground. We just heard it like that thump, like someone had been carrying something really heavy and just dropped it on the ground. And we couldn't find anything we could associate with it at all in the area. And you don't always see everything. It's boring. Watching us walk around for an hour looking for a rock that was mysteriously levitated and dropped. If we found something, we'd show it. If we don't, we just kind of let it be. But that does need noted because it was one of the few really odd things that we noticed there, along with the mist effect around the camera, or the camera overexposing at the wrong time. It can just be technical glitches, which I will admit, and I usually generally think it is. But I always want to keep track of these things as we're out there. Like Frank's knife, he believes someone just went out and mysteriously took it. It looks like someone might have been out there, so they might have found his knife at the same time. Maybe his knife just got absorbed into the nether, and maybe one day we'll go out there and it'll just reappear again. Whoever has it, he would like it back, as he still talks about it.
Tunnel for this ship. Even
For what
to
reason?
where that shaft is.
For
Look at
what
this shit.
reason?
Who's gonna dig through this fucking ship?
For what reason again? That's the bigger part, right? For what reason? What is your reasoning for digging the tunnel? Even if you're going to create the staircase, what is the reason for creating the tunnel?
See, this is the real Oak Island.
Kind of makes me feel that way.
Hey, Frank, come here.
And it was over there.
The bucket?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you would have heard that.
And, that was metallic. It was a thud.
So where do we go from here? We spent a significant amount of time. One of the things you have to understand is we took a lot of soil samples. We were checking to check all the boxes on the different things we heard. Everything from the Latter-day Saints to the Masons to the Knights Templar to extraterrestrial craft that had crashed there, indigenous peoples, whether it would be the Pima, the Hohokam, the Hopi, Aztec or Mayans. And so we wanted to check each box regardless of how we felt about it. So we checked the samples. Nothing in the samples of the soil showed any trace of radiation. There wasn't any perceptible, at that time, electromagnetic fields that we found anywhere. So we hear a lot of different things, and people always say, well, we went out and we found this, but we wanted to document it, go through. We found no mineralization, no signs of any mineralization of anything resource-wise, other than what would just be naturally in the area, in the alluvial. And we also were able to capture the fact that We found a couple shards of pottery, but nothing significant. We know there are some ruins or in areas that were habitated in nearby. But it was kind of strange because it was a very clean area, especially for all the people over the last 50, 60, or even up to 100 years that have been in that site. So we have to move forward, and one of the things is starting to check those boxes off of questions we have. And moving forward, we know the Holy Stones group and a number of people associated with that were associated with this site. And what were the tie-ins? We wanted to also look into the hieroglyphic stone, which is known as the Mayan calendar stone, and start moving forward to that and the people involved with that situation. So we wanted to see, how do these things connect or interconnect or not connect? Is the pyramid stone I found really the one of the two that were actually found in that sand? We want to do an interview. We want to touch these bases as we're moving forward. And that's important to us. It's important for us to document and show people what other people have seen, what they've sketched, because for some unusual situation, there's no one giving us any photographic or video evidence of what they've ever found down in there. So we're putting out this in the public, everything we have, and showing and trying to dispel, or not necessarily debunk, but dispel some of the myths and try to understand what's happening, what people see around there. Another couple of elements have been entered into it, and there's interviews that will be ongoing as we proceed through. But I think everyone's going to enjoy this kind of going down, because there's some rabbit holes along the way, and we're going to thoroughly investigate those. And we're going to keep providing the documentation and give people some of the insight of what people say they saw. So you yourself will be able to kind of judge as we explore further and go further. So I hope everybody continues to join us. And as we start to go in the next steps of going down the trace of looking into the Latter-day Saints, the hieroglyphic Mayan calendar stone, and its origination stories, where is it today, and how is it attached to the spiral staircase? So thanks for joining us, and we look forward to showing you the next episode.